causes of the war were the alliances that were made between the years 1879 and 1914. So if a country was being attacked, the other had no option but to join the war. For example, the Triple Alliance and the Triple Entente. Also, imperialism was another cause due to the stealing of land and to the competition that it generated. For example, Britain and France owned a big amount of land, starting the rivalry between them and Germany. Militarism made the countries one the biggest and the best army of them all. Example, Germany had to struggle to beat France and Britain in this area. France had doubled the military between 1870 and 1914. Nationalism was another cause because of the desire of the Slavic people in Bosnia and Herzegovina to no longer be part of Austria-Hungary but instead be part of Serbia. Some characteristics of the World War I are, first, that the Allied forces were France, the UK, and Russia. Their enemies were the Central Powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary, later the Ottoman Empire. Also, trenches were an important part of the war since much of it happened in them. They were their safe places, but also their deathbeds. They were infested with rats, frogs, lice, and various infections. Also, journalists were banned and anyone who reported the truth about the war was risking their life. The government tried to control the information since the start with the excuse that it was helping the enemy. Finally, it is as far the bloodiest war with over 16.5 million deaths and 21 million wounded in battles. Some of these deaths by chemical weapons. The World War I officially ended with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. The Allies wrote it with almost no participation by the Germans. The second part of the treaty specifies the land that had to be given by the Germans, such as Alsace-Lorraine back to France, substantial eastern districts to Poland, among others. Part 5 reduced Germany's armed forces to very low levels and prohibited them from possessing certain classes of weapons. Part 8 established Germany's responsibility for reparations without stating a specific figure and began with Article 231, in which Germany accepted the responsibility of itself and its allies for the losses and damages of the Allies.
The Treaty of Versailles was called morally invalid by Germany, since it said they and their allies were responsible for all the damage. Therefore, they also felt sort of betrayed, which brought a lot of consequences and made this treaty pretty difficult to come through. For instance, since Germany refused to sign the terms of reparation, its consequence was the increase of nationalism, and because of this, people such as Hitler became the top head in Germany. Another consequence from this treaty is the disagreement between Britain and the French. Because while Britain thought the treaty was too hard on Germany, French thought it wasn't actually hard enough. Another consequence from this treaty was the negotiations respecting territorial claims, which caused a huge debate among the Allies. This treaty brought a lot of economic consequences. The Great Depression is known as the deepest and longest economic crisis in the world, though USA was the most affected of them all. There was severe poverty, a lot of hunger because of the extreme unemployment during this time. A key characteristic definitely was the human suffering. People went through a lot, mentally and physically. Two of the main causes in this tragedy were the stock market crash in 1929, where people invested all of their savings in there, or bought a stock credit. Though when the crash came up, people were unprepared, which caused major economic devastation. The other main cause is overproduction, since all kinds of businesses did not cut back on making products. Therefore, products weren't bought, which brought big problems to the economy and unemployment.
Totalitarianism is a form of government that doesn't allow individual freedom among citizens, and that involves all the country to be subject of the government's absolute authority. The leader has a complete control over the economy, law, and order in the country. This form is based on an ideology and is very centralized.
One of the causes of the totalitarian regimes definitely was the Treaty of Versailles, since it created an area of revenge among Germans. The communist leaders in Russia spread their communist ideas all over the world, they would promote communism in different countries. Another cause would be the disappointment of Italy thanks to the Treaty of Versailles, since they faced not only poverty but also discontent. They felt they had won the war, though had lost their peace, which made them go look out for a leader who would bring that peace back to them.
The regime that we are going to talk about is a fascist Italy. It started in 1922 and it finished in 1945. It was ruled by Benito Mussolini, an Italian politician with socialist ideologies during his youth, and that born in 1833. He fought in the World War I, and after it ends, he organized some groups and made a fascist party on 1919, thanks to the conformity of the Treaty of Versailles. When Italy was in a political chaos, in 1922, he declared that he was the only one that could restore peace, and by 1925, he became an official dictator. In 1935, he invaded Ethiopia to show his strength. He made an alliance with Hitler in 1939. As a result of this alliance, Mussolini established discrimination policies against Jews, and by the same year, Italy was pulled into World War II. Mussolini was forced to resign in 1942 after a plan that Winston Churchill and Roosevelt made. Then he decided to move his government, but Rome was liberated by Allied forces to take control over Italy, forcing Mussolini to escape. He didn't succeed and he was captured and executed on 1945 in Italy. The ideology of the Italian regime is
fascism, big government solutions and crony capitalism, and openly hostile towards conventional religion. Fascism believes in the superiority of the nation. The nation refers to a collection of people bound together by race, ethnicity, or culture. Mussolini intended to guide the material and moral progress of the Italian community. The type of state needed to fulfill this goal is an anti-democratic and totalitarian. As an economic system, fascism is socialism with a capitalist veneer. Fascism was seen as a happy medium between boom and bust pro-liberal capitalism, with its alleged class conflict, wasteful competition, and profit-oriented egoism. Revolutionary Marxism with its violent and socially divisive persecution of the bourgeois. Where socialism nationalized property explicitly, fascism did so implicitly, by requiring owners to use their property in the national interest. That is, as the autocratic authority conceived it, fascism left this appearance of market relations while planning out all economic activities. It controlled the monetary system and settled prices and wages politically.
Rights that were violated by the Italian regime.
Right number 11. Everyone charged with a penal offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to the law in a public trial at which he has had all the guarantees necessary for his defense. If someone thought different, they were arrested, and sometimes police didn't even have evidence. They were tortured and cruelly killed. Right number 12. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to be protected by the law against such interference or attacks. People were spied by secret police. Right number 21. Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country, directly or through freely chosen representatives. They were not allowed to have different ideas from the government's ones. Propaganda and newspapers help people to change their ideas and to agree with government.